the whole point of this profile is that once you know a bit about extraction theory and the relationship between pressure and soak time, then you can just directly adjust those without becoming a profile programmer, to be able to apply your coffee knowledge and your tasting knowledge without having to become so technical. D-Flow is not a profile. D-Flow is the family of profiles that look like Londinium. And what I mean by that is they're fast fill, soak time under pressure, and then rise pressure, and then some stuff happens. So let's pull up the D-Flow and let's take a look. All right, so advanced D-Flow. So first thing you'll notice is the shot editor is completely different, and I'll walk you through it. The idea here is that instead of having all the programming steps of a profile, what's been done here is the coffee relevant variables are all here. And you adjust the coffee relevant variables here of the Londinium family. And this line here, this chart here is going to change. So your dose weight and the temperature of the pre-infusion, this part here, temperature of the infusion here. There's also temperature here for the extraction, which is this part here, right? Infuse here and pour here. The pressure here is this, which is how much pressure to leave during the soak time. And you could bring that down to 0 and have it work like adaptive if you set down at 0. Now, this infusion here is saying infuse until either. And it's a bit of a swap here in terms of it's not really doing what it's saying, because there's time, volume, and weight. Time is 1 minute, volume is 100 mils, weight is 4 grams. Of those, only one is actually relevant, because D-Flow is assuming you own a scale. And with a scale, it's going to wait for 4 grams of dripping, and then it's going to move on to the next step. That's a quite neat concept, because what it's saying is that if your grind is really coarse, let's just have a short infusion time. And if your grind's really fine, let's wait until it's really saturated. Now, the reason that's useful is that if you grind too fine, you might not give enough time for the whole puck to saturate. There's kind of 2 reasons to have this infusion time. One is just to let all the beans soak, but the other is to make sure the whole puck is fully saturated. That's why it's called pre-infusion. When the infusion happens, you think that the whole puck is now wet and you're going to extract. But if you look at the bottom of a 9-bar espresso, you'll notice that water, or the coffee, starts coming out within like 3 seconds. And it comes out of specific spots of the puck, and then after a few seconds, the whole puck is extracting. And that's because if you hit a puck really hard without any pre-infusion, it's going to find certain faster paths, and then from there, the water is going to spread out. And so you get less of an extraction, but also an uneven extraction, because those first spots where the coffee first came out will have had the most time with the water. And this is trying to fight that. What it's doing is putting water on the puck resists, and then water is mostly turned off. But there's still pressure on it. And the reason for the pressure is to push the water as quickly as possible through the whole puck. So if you have a medium to dark roast bean, you look below, when the water comes in, you might just see like very typically what's called donut extraction. So you'll see coffee coming from the outside and then slowly coming in and filling on the inside. This is making sure that the pressure doesn't rise until the whole coffee puck is wet. And that's going to give you a much more even extraction. It's also going to avoid channeling, because pushing water through a puck that has dry and wet spots is really asking for more channeling. So this Londinium recipe, and I got, hats off to the guy who invented this machine, because this is really a good way to make coffee. It was a big aha moment for me to realize that the Slayer style pre-infusion, which is slower water flow, was less good than this, because that just used capillary action, so water going to the next parts and slowly spreading. And the problem with the capillary action is it's quite slow for the whole puck to get wet. But if you do capillary action under pressure, then the whole puck gets wet much quicker, and you get a much more even extraction, you get a higher EY extraction yield as well. So that's what's going on here. So 4 grams dripping, temperature on the extraction, and then this is the clever bit. Instead of defining pressure and or flow, you define both. And what he's doing here is he's saying the maximum flow rate I want is 1.7 mils per second, but I also don't want to go over 8.5 bar. So what's going to happen here? And I had to sort of look at this, and then that Damon guy, he's pretty clever. Because what's going to happen here is 2 different possible shots. One, your grind is too fine. You're just going to have an 8.5 bar shot. Nothing wrong with that. It's going to be a perfectly good traditional shot, 8.5 bars. If your grind is about right, what's going to happen is you're going to hit 8.5 bar, your puck is going to erode, your flow rate's going to go up, it's going to go faster than 1.7 mils per second, and then flow is going to kick in and control flow. That, I know I just said a whole lot of stuff, but that's what Londinium just did. But he simplified it down to just 2 variables. There. And then if you're too coarse, and you can't get anywhere near 8.5 bar, and your flow rate starts to go way up, you're going to get a kind of sweet and gentle shot. It's going to keep the flow rate under 1.7. The pressure is going to rise to whatever 1.7 mils per second does, and then it's going to go down as the puck erodes. So it's like these little 2 things here. He's simplified 3 profiles right in there, right? There's an Italian espresso, flat 9 bar, E61, if you're ground too fine. If you're just right, it's going to look like Londinium. And if you're a bit too coarse, it's going to do a sweet and gentle. I was pretty impressed. So I don't think enough people spend time working on D-flow. And what I just explained about how the profile is essentially mimicking different profiles based on what happens to the grind size, that's pretty clever. And when I've asked people, go ahead and pull the shot. When I've asked people, are you mostly making good espresso, occasionally making good espresso, or never making good espresso? The people who were in the always making good espresso camp, the profiles that got mentioned over and over were D-flow, extramundo dose, and adaptive. Those are the profiles. And the thing about all 3 of those is they all have their own approach for dealing with the grind being in various ways. Extramundo dose being what I'd recommend for people who are using light roast. Adaptive, a good medium. Londinium, also good medium. D-flow, good everywhere. If you've got light roast beans and you want to have a much longer time here, I would lower this pressure down to 0 and increase the time or the dripping. So what we're going to see here is where our grind is. And we are still on the fruity Carraro beans. And this could be anything. I don't know how the grinds are set up. All right, so this is quite fine. You can see the pre-infusion grams are quite low. So we might get a traditional shot here that looks kind of like a flat 8.5 bar. Advancing to next step because we got 4 grams there. Not what I expected. And partially it's the beans. So this was ground quite fine. We didn't have much dripping, but then we didn't get much pressure. Probably very long soak time meant that we weren't able to make much pressure. But let's taste it. So there we are. Not a whole lot of crema, which is to be expected because we didn't get much pressure. So what do you think that?
It doesn't taste like the same thing actually. There's more, almost like floral flavor coming out.
Yeah, that kind of rose kind of thing. Can you do me a favor? Go 2 settings finer on your grind, and let's just pull the same shot. Because I want to show D-flow adapting. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to have even less here and hopefully a higher pressure.
Okay, so, okay, find it. Got it.
Right, so you see that donut extraction? See how the center is dry? That's what this pressurized soak is doing. Is it's waiting to rise pressure until now the whole puck has been wet. And what that means is now when the pressure is going to rise, hopefully we're going to see a shot that's a little bit more even. So we are seeing some extraction on the side, but it's still looking pretty good. So what this shot did, we once again did 3.7 mils. It took longer for our pre-infusion to give us that time. And I think these light roasted beans are having trouble giving pressure after a long soak. That's the bean, and that's a combination also of the grinder not having fines. And if I were using the niche, I could go coarser, and I would still get not much dripping, and then the pressure would go up higher. And again, that linear extraction on constant flow. Remember I said if the flow rate's too high, it'll limit it to 1.7, which is what happened here. We got a 1.7 flow rate. The top was 1.8, ending in 1.7 here. And then some sort of pressure came out. And this is indicating, in the end, I would say the puck prep distribution was not great on that, because at the beginning we could see like one side got water and then the outside, and it took quite a long time for the whole puck to get wet. But it didn't matter too much, because this very long soak under pressure repaired the puck. And I know it repaired it because we were able to rise in pressure and then have a nice linear extraction even though we had constant flow. So I really love this pressurized long soak as a way to heal a puck that hasn't been that homogeneous. Tell me what you taste there.
I feel like this one, compared to the previous one, there's definitely more flavor coming out. And the aftertaste is pretty long, actually. Yeah.
It's a really good shot.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with this shot. I agree with almost like a concentrated mango coming in, which I haven't really gotten until now. Also has some mouthfeel, which is great. Tremendous length, dried mango, like chew stuff is what I'm imagining. And still some nice chocolate. I mean, who doesn't like chocolate bars with some mango bits in it? That's a nice thing, right? And the shot looks beautiful. What's interesting about D-Flow is because it triggers here based on weight, you can have a very long soak. And I could have changed it and been time-based, like Londinium and Adaptive is, and that would give different flavors. But the whole point of this profile is that once you know a bit about extraction theory and the relationship between pressure and soak time, then you can just directly adjust those without becoming a profile programmer. And I feel like that's a major contribution to be able to apply your coffee knowledge and your tasting knowledge without having to become so technical. So give that a try. Thanks for watching.